The Onts Chapter 11. A Desperate Bid for Freedom. The Onts locked Cheyenne and Wally up in their separate bedrooms with the oak dressers, the puffy pillows, and the colorful quilts. Then they put 3 padded locks on each of the doors so the twins couldn't get out. Then they went back to bed. Cheyenne sobbed softly in her room and then decided that by morning the Onts would probably calm down and change their minds about killing them. Wally cursed loudly in his room. He scolded himself for being careless about his wet shoes and letting the aunts discover he'd been in the basement, and for meekly allowing himself to be locked into his bedroom, instead of punching each of them in the stomach like he'd punched Rocco at the orphanage. Not that punching the aunts in the stomach would have done much, but still. Wally tried to figure out a way to escape. He went to the door of his bedroom and tested the lock to make sure it wouldn't open. It wouldn't. He raised the window and tried to see if he could slip between the stainless steel bars. He couldn't. If both his head and his butt had been 2 inches thick, he could have done it. They weren't. He looked closely at the stainless steel bars to see how they were attached to the window opening. The bars were mounted in a steel frame. The frame was screwed into the window opening with a series of 24 steel screws. Wally went and got the Boy Scout knife his dad had given him before he drowned in the porta potty. He snapped out the screwdriver blade and tried to unscrew one of the steel screws. At first the screw wouldn't turn, then finally it did. Wally removed all 24 screws in less than 10 minutes. He carefully lifted out the bars. He put his toothbrush, his second pair of underpants, and his Boy Scout knife back into his pants pocket. And then, with a last look at what would have been a really great room if it weren't owned by giant ants who were breeding a super race of ants to enslave humans and take over Earth, he crawled through the window. When Cheyenne first caught sight of somebody outside on the ledge, she was so frightened she almost wet herself. But then she realized who the somebody was, and she was thrilled. "Wally, how'd you get out of your room?" she squealed. "Shh," he hissed. She opened the window. Wally showed her his Boy Scout knife with the screwdriver blade. Then he went to work. In another 10 minutes, he had removed the 24 screws from the bars in Cheyenne's window. He handed Cheyenne the bars. She put them down quietly on the bedroom floor. "Grab your stuff and let's get out of here," Wally whispered. Cheyenne took her toothbrush, her second pair of underpants, and Grandma Gloria's salt and pepper shaker, and joined Wally out on the window ledge. Following Wally's lead, Cheyenne carefully made her way down the side of the building to the ground, hanging on to the thick vines that climbed the side of the house. At one point, a vine broke, and they almost fell to the ground, a fall that would have broken their necks. But Wally grabbed onto the drain pipe, and Cheyenne grabbed onto the TV cable, and they didn't fall. "We made it," Cheyenne whispered when they reached the ground. "Now comes the hard part," said Wally softly, "getting out of Dripping Fang Forest." "Don't worry, Wally. We'll do it," said Cheyenne. "Or die trying," said Wally. "Which way should we go?" "Well, we came from that direction," said Wally, pointing to the left. The Schluffmuffin twins began carefully picking their way along the trail to the left. It was night, and the woods were dark. The wind whined through the trees, making an eerie noise. From somewhere not far away came the sound of howling. "What's that?" said Cheyenne. "Wolves," said Wally. "At least, I hope it's wolves." "You hope it's wolves?" Cheyenne asked. "Well, rather than werewolves," said Wally. "Oh," said Cheyenne. "Wally, will werewolves attack us?" "Only if they're hungry," said Wally. "Oh," said Cheyenne. "Or if their cubs are hungry," said Wally. "Oh," said Cheyenne. "Or if they're mad at us," said Wally. "Oh," said Cheyenne. "Or if they're scared of us," said Wally. "Oh," said Cheyenne. "Or if they think we're scared of them," said Wally. "Wally?" "Or if they have rabies," said Wally. "Wally, what will we do if they attack us?" "Bleed," said Wally. Cheyenne punched Wally in the arm. "Wally, be serious." "I am serious," he said. "Bleeding is serious." Just then Cheyenne saw something. "Wally, what's that?" she whispered. "What's what?" "Ahead of us, in the underbrush there, on the right side of the trail," she pointed. "That long, fat, glowing thing." That's the end of Chapter 11. We'll see you tomorrow.